Can Wenhao hear me?全部听得到吗？Hello, can Wenhao hear? Can you hear me?
虽然你的声音太小太远了，
太小太远，现在有好一点吗？喂。
有好一点，但是声音还是糊糊的。
OK，好，我现在是在那个车上，在
OK，
移动。好，这样有好一点吗？我尽量贴近一点。OK，
好一点，好一点。
OK. Hi Victory, can you hear me alright?
Hi Wenhao. Hi Shin.
Hi.
Good morning, Victory. Can you hear me alright?
Yes, I can hear
Alright,
you.
apologies, I'm on the road, so might be some background. If you can hear, just let me know. Okay, cannot hear clearly. Alright, so we have Wenhao with us today. So Victory, maybe we can start.
Hi Wenhao.
Yes.
Hi.
I hope you're doing well. Is so I'm just trying to look for my screen, but I guess I can just get started with Wenhao.
Go ahead. Yes.
If there's has there been any like update with regards to the front end development? Anything new? I'm trying to find my screen.
The front end look like last week because I'm dealing with the permission problem with browser and Firebase cloud messaging. So, but I think I have overcome the problem. So I will finish it in this week, and I can write a instruction of how to build this system.
Okay. So like a documentation.
Yeah, like documentation. How to push to Firebase.
Okay. But at the moment that link is still the same, right?
Yeah, the link is the same, but I don't push the new code on that side.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So I'm just gonna put to push code.
Maybe help me share your screen.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Victory.
I thought I was sharing screen. My bad.
Okay, I just like to add that I had a sync with Wenhao earlier this morning, and I think he will be making a simple chat version that works. Okay, before transferring with the documentation. And he's basically fixing up some last issues.
Oh, so, all right. Thanks, Wenhao. I'm not sure if. Let's see. Let me see. I want to see what's next. Sorry. And for Shinyan, were there like any new updates with regards to?
Okay, not yet.
Developers?
Okay, I haven't heard. Okay. Yeah, I haven't gotten. And just since Wenhao is here, just curious if Wenhao might have someone to recommend from the open source community. Okay.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be cool.
If Wenhao knows someone from the open source or Coast Club community who might be interested, okay, feel free to pass it to pass the information to them. All right.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Wenhao. I'm just gonna add that to the to-do list as well. All right. I'm not sure if Alida is in the call. I think she is. Yes. Hi, Alida.
Hi, yes, I am. Hi.
Morning. Yesterday I had a sync with our leader and to sort of try to discuss sort of how our projects overlap. And the summary of the issue is, I think I'm 80% certain that we're doing the same thing from a back-end side in terms of the spatial publications and channel-based publications. And I sort of tried to draw this out. I'm not sure if you can see this very well. I just added this part, but the leader is familiar with this diagram where we have the front-end chat app that utilizes, the back-end part, the vast library to perform spatial routing and, some basic channel-based pub/sub. And the idea is no matter what application it is, whether it's an Uber app or a chat app, the communication method should either be publishing to channel or subscribing to channel or publishing to area. Basically, there's 6 different things that are generally associated with the spatial publish subscribe. So from what I gathered yesterday, and Professor Hammond can probably correct me if I'm wrong, the implementation, the flow diagram, and when I said the flow, practically this, I'm not really sure if it's different, but it's, from what I gathered, it sounds like it's the same thing in terms of how the publish and the subscribe should work. That if there's a request sent to Matcher and Matcher sends the request to the publisher and publisher forwards to Matcher, basically that back and forth. From what I gather, it's more or less the same thing. And the idea is if it is the same thing, then we don't have to do two, write 2 different implementations for it. The
So
idea is
the same thing for what?
No, when I say same thing, I meant same process flow with regards to the publishing and the subscribing.
Between channel-based pub/sub and spatial pub/sub?
And spatial based, yeah, both.
Yeah.
So
it's exactly the same flow. Yeah.
It's exactly the same, right? Yeah.
The only thing which is different is that the way that you filter the messages, that the way you decide how or what you subscribe to, and the way you determine, that's the one you do text comparisons between channel names, and the other one you calculate area overlap or volume overlap between spatial areas.
Yeah. So that's basically why I did this morning, where I just called it the front-end spatial Uber app. I'm gonna call that app, where at the end of the day, there's requests being made to this big backend, and the backend can be the universal vast library, right? And so the agreement or the suggestion basically was, what if perhaps she could actually work on the implementation of this, for example, on Node.js. From what I gather, she's already doing some basic tests with channel based and area based or spatial based. And the idea is that implementation can form part of the vast library on GitHub, and we are simply just using that backend side for the front end application. I mean, so we're going to have universal, for example, data points like publish to channel. It's probably going to be a universal variable. And the idea is once this is sort of done, there's a sense of, okay, we're just connecting when it's a chat app, for example, when it's a group chat, for example, we are simply connecting to the publish to area component of the backend. And if it's an Uber app, the app is designed to send requests that are sort of spatial based, like, okay, subscribe to messages from a specific area on the map or publish to a specific area on the map. But yeah, that was basically the summary of the conversation. I don't know if I missed anything, Alida.
Yeah, so it's what you're saying is correct. So if you mean with data point, you mean basically API that's being used.
Exactly.
So I mean, from the point of view of the applications, it can basically regard as the backend as some library API that's being used to publish messages and to subscribe to messages. That's basically what it is. And to get this thing working quickly, the idea is to use the MQTT API for the channel-based PubSub. So in other words, we basically take the MQTT API, which is already defined, and then the only thing that we do when we move to channel-based, to spatial-based, is then we extend the MQTT API to also support area publications and area subscriptions.
Precisely. Something like that, yeah. So in terms of the detail, then the idea is one to sort of like have the perfect picture of how it overlaps. When I say perfect, like the precision now. Then we can now say, okay, maybe you focus on the channel based, I focus on the area based, but then we're using the same library, for example, or using the same branch on GitHub. We're just simply pushing code and merging and rebasing and that kind of thing.
Well, I would actually suggest you use different branches on GitHub, but then you merge to a common development branch. But yeah, that's basically the idea.
Okay, that makes sense.
I guess it's a question for Lida. Is there intention to utilize channel-based PubSub for the application you're planning?
Sorry, would you?
The question is for the spatial Uber app. Do you plan to use the channel-based PubSub?
I think Shinyun's question is: do you think you will be using the channel-based PubSub for the
yes, that's the question.
For the RAL heading app?
Sorry, I think it's my internet connection that's a bit bad. The reason why I've started with a channel-based is because it's I can very easily move from the channel-based to spatial-based, but I don't think I'll directly be using a channel-based for the RAL heading app.
Okay, I see. All right. The reason is, from the diagram, I'm wondering if it makes sense to have the application to call directly a sort of a unified API that supports both channel and spatial PubSub. Is that the idea now?
I think so. I mean, I think initially the idea is just to have because the chat app that Victory needs just uses the channel-based PubSub. So I think the idea now is just to get a channel-based PubSub API up and running, yes. And then when that's working, then to extend the API with the channel-based functionality.
Okay, all right, nice.
Sorry, the spatial-based functionality.
And is that going to be MQTT style?
I think it makes sense to do it like that because that means that if someone else sees, then any other application that uses MQTT could use our implementation as well.
Exactly. Okay. And is Alida also? I mean, does Alida also think this would be a good approach?
Yeah, no, completely. That is my plan for now.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. So yeah. So thanks. So Victory can continue.
Oh, okay. So I think at the moment I just need to send Alida some like key documentation, for example, as to like the flow diagram. She also says she has notes, and the idea is to sort of compare the notes, for example, see the precise nature of how they overlap. When I say precise, I'm talking about the detail now. And then the idea is then we can reconvene maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, because she works, I think, Monday, Tuesdays at work, and then works from home like between, I think, Wednesdays and Fridays, Wednesday to Friday. So the idea is we can reconvene again and then create like a proper timeline as to, okay, this needs to be done, that needs to be done, this is how we're gonna do this, and this is how we're gonna approach this. But yeah, just to follow up on the question, I don't know if I know Shinyan just asked it, but I don't know if is there a scenario where the spatial Uber app, I know you answered it, but I don't think I really got the answer, where the spatial Uber app requires some form of channel-based what do you call it, functionality?
From my
I think
understanding, no, sorry, no, go.
No, so I think she said not necessarily.
Okay.
But the thing is, if the channel-based functionality is there, I mean, it is something that you could use. And I think the other thing is that I think Shinyan also mentioned at some point that we could basically simulate a channel-based functionality by basically mapping the channels to virtual locations, and in that way you can basically do a channel-based system.
Okay.
So in that case, the underlying routing is actually a spatial routing mechanism, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be fully supported by something like the fast library.
Yeah. So the steps that I see, Victory, is basically we get a backend we get an MQT backend. So we take one of the MQTT Node.js implementations, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the API of it, and we basically have that there. That basically gives you channel-based pub sub that uses the MQTT. Okay.
Yeah.
Then what we do is we take part of that and we, using the same API that we have, is we basically implement the space. So it's the spatial, the mapping from the channel based to some spatial area, and then then we do which basically then does spatial based publish subscribe. So although the application uses the MQTT API, it basically maps it to the spatial domain, and then we basically do a, hidden from the user, we basically do a spatial based publish subscribe. And then when that's working correctly, then you can basically expose the spatial based API to the rest of the system so that becomes available as well. So that's one way of doing it. Another option would have been to just use MQTT, and then basically have work on the spatial API, basically extend the API to include the spatial functionality, and then that's something that will then be based on the VAST. And then when you have the spatial functionality working, then you can replace the MQTT routing with the spatial routing.
Okay. All right. But I do understand that, the MQTT actually is a good foundation, especially in the, I know IoT communities are big fans of MQTT.
Well,
and
yeah,
also
so
for some,
it gives you a way of, it basically gives you an into the IoT community that uses MQTT without requiring them to make big changes to their software. Basically just saying, here's another alternative. And if we can show that scales better than the existing MQTT applications, then they've got a good reason for actually changing to a different system.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's a very, if we can do that, that would be a great way to get users and adoptions and introduce them to additional capability in the spatial sub.
Okay, makes sense. That's fine. All right. Thanks.
All right. So it's action time.
Action time, yes. Sorry.
I think my feedback is, I think the planning, the overall direction, I think is set. So I would say now we should focus on concrete action steps. I mean, towards that.
Okay.
So maybe we can start to the planning.
So for me, for example, I've created this, I've scheduled a session with a friend of mine. The guy that I was speaking about, who sort of has some experience with JavaScript. We have a session for Saturday, where we'll try to do some coding, coding to sort of understand, to see what's going on in the vast library, the Migros implementation, and to see if we would have to either like build on that or fork that out and perform the quote unquote surgery on it. But just to confirm, can I start pushing can I like create a new branch and everything on the existing
Yes, go ahead. And
Okay.
I think it's recommended to fork a new branch from Migros implementation, so that its
Okay.
work is still maintained.
It's still meant, yeah, exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
and so comparisons can be made later. And should there be any-
Yes. Report. All right. I also need to sort of send a leader the cleaned up documentation. I think I've already set for when, how. So for Alida, from what I gather, I think you did say that you're still doing some coding cleanup. Is that correct? In
Yes.
terms of like practicing and trying to
Yeah.
familiarize this.
100%.
Okay. So we can start with the implementation or test implementation of channel-based, channel and spatial pops up in Node, right? JavaScript.
Okay, so I guess the question for Alida is which part do you plan to work on first? I mean, what would be like the next step to take?
What I'm currently busy working on is basically just a very simple implementation of channel-based PubSub in Node.js, because as I also told Victory yesterday, is I'm not Node.js isn't JavaScript isn't my main programming language I'm familiar with. So I'm still currently trying to, as I implement a channel-based, just trying to learn the JavaScript a bit, so that when I get to the so I'm currently just working on the channel-based, a very simplistic version of the channel-based.
Yeah, precisely. So for now, you can just try to play around with that, and then we can I can send you maybe an email with like some updates on Monday. Is that okay, Alita?
That works for me.
There is a feedback for Alida, which is if the purpose now is just to test, right, just to get familiar with the language. Actually, if you feel it's all right, I actually would suggest to do a spatial PubSub implementation. Okay, and the reason is that it's actually not that difficult or far off to compare with doing a channel-based PubSub. Okay, it's really just the matching part. You're doing area matching.
My plan at the moment was to do a channel based and then just turn that into a spatial based, because it is
great.
yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, because I think we do already have channel functions with MQTT. We probably would assume that's working by default. So what's lacking now is actually spatial implementation. So but once you have that done, then we actually already have channel and spatial functionalities. Just that not scale. Okay, but the function will be there. See, so that means the application development can happen. Yeah. So just a feedback. But looks like you're already on that path. So great.
Cool.
Okay. Professor Herman said he was going to use the weekend for the vast MQTT implementation.
Yeah, I've already started looking at that a bit. So yeah, I also, yeah, so I suspect that the work that you guys are doing in terms of a channel-based and a spatial-based Node.js implementation will not be wasted, because we might just have to, it might just be the easiest just to add the Von Peer functionality to that. But yeah, I'll give some feedback on Monday about that.
All right. One of the key things they did say with that I read with regards to the MQTT implementation, there was an emphasis on the fact that it conserves energy, like, you know, on low, it sort of saves battery life, for example. And I'm not really sure if that's a pub sub thing, or if that's specifically an MQTT thing.
I think it's just because, it's not a functionality of the communication mechanism. I think it's just it's the functionality of the implementation.
Okay. Interesting. All right. And with Shenyun, I'm guessing the next step is just to the new developers call out. Oh yeah. I actually just remembered now. I got feedback from the person I contacted on LinkedIn yesterday, the IoT guy. He said he just sent a message that he's happy to help, and I'm trying to schedule a session with him maybe later today.
Nice.
To see if he can assist with some of the like MQTT questions, for example, and perhaps if we can collaborate.
Okay, I think I will shoot up an email for Inky as well. Okay, just to schedule a time to chat with him about this video.
Okay.
What open source developer behind the YAML.
Okay. New developers now, that's fine. IoT. Next. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if I missed anything. Any feedback, comments, feature requests?
I think it's good for now.
All right. Just need to put that in there as well. So this is just like with regards to whatever I come up with, I'll just email Alida on Monday. And yeah.
Okay, quick feedback is to move the red items on top so that everyone knows what's the priorities.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Alida. So the
okay.
the red ones are priorities. Sorry.
Better visually.
Sorry. There. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
So I think we'll see you
Cool.
on Monday, right?
Monday, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks, Monday.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Wenhao.
Thanks,
Thanks, Alida.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.